advertisers company applies my principle, don't be a star, be a galaxy. And that means that you plug yourself, that you plug your ideas into a network of others. And the Gloor tool looks for galaxies. It looks for coins by mining all sorts of social networks. And there is two main applications, which I call cool hunting and cool farming, or looking for trends on the web, that's cool hunting, while they are arising, by looking for coins, it's also quite sophisticated natural language processing to track emergence of new ideas by emotionality, but also by word usage, meaning looking for new made-up words and who is using them. So is there a coin? And in that coin, let's say on Twitter, we could easily compare discussion about Tea Party to discussion about Occupy Wall Street. They have very different word usage, and you might see some coin patterns, and this would help you to identify hidden leaders. More practical examples are, for example, looking for BMW. What are people saying about plug-in hybrids? Their new cars, how does this compare against Toyota Prius, and so on? And who are the innovators and what are they doing? How are they using those cars? So this is the cool hunting application. And then there is this other application which is basically using email inside a company as a dashboard for organizational health. And that means that we look at 5 variables which we have identified over the last 10 years that predict organizational health or group health based on communication. The first is strong leadership. In a coin you have Linus Torvalds, you have Tim Berners-Lee and so on. And those things can be measured very nicely using a method we call social network analysis, which is basically graph theory. It's a very statistical method. So strong leadership is the first one. But in creative communities you do not always want the same leader, and that's what we call a rotating leadership. And this has been shown also by some of my colleagues at Sloan that this is a very good predictor of successful new business ideas. If you have more than one leader, at one time you always have identifiable strong leaders, but they take turns. So measuring rotation in leadership, which by the way is also a predictor of individual creativity. That means if you go back in a community between central, decentral, central, decentral, this means you are particularly creative. And the next one is what we call contribution, and that measures how much of a net recipient of information, how much of a sender or receiver of information are you. In a creative community you want well-balanced contribution. That means everybody should be, over time, an even contributor. In some corporate settings, we have also looked at things like very big hospitals in Boston, or one of the first big projects was for Ford, looking at their email network, how they were creating, at that time it was the Ford Focus, and just some parts of their other plug-in hybrids. And there, sometimes you want centralized contribution. You want steady contribution by a few more central people than the others. This is more typical of high-performance work for call centers or for service providers. So that's number 3. Number 4 is speed of response. If you send an email to Barack Obama, that doesn't mean anything. If he responds to you 30 seconds later, you must be very important. Or to put it in other words, the faster somebody responds to you, the better they like you. And the faster you respond to somebody, the more important this other person is to you. And so we look at this, we call that elapsed time until people respond, and also how many pings. How many times do you have to ping somebody until they respond? And those two things are very good predictors too. And the last variable is emotionality. And what we found there is it's nice to be positive. It's better to be honest. And that means positivity and negativity. if you have a widespread of emotionality, if you are emotional, if you are passionate, this is a predictor of success. And so our software finds those 5 variables, and you can get them for individuals, but you can also get them for teams. And then you can compare teams, and that will, on the one hand, predict the probability that they are up to something new, but also how well performing, for example, is a call center team. Or another application is looking at customer satisfaction, because you can have a service. That's a project we are doing with a big service provider, and they are collecting all the email they are exchanging with their customers, a lot of email. Then we just calculate those 5 variables, and they will tell how happy the customer is. This is simpler than having to do all of those surveys where you have to ask, for example, Net Promoter Score, which means how likely are you to recommend me to your business partner, and we can do that automatically.